Hey friends, happy holidays. I wanted to bring another video to you. Specifically in this time frame, we're, I think my son said 11 days away from Christmas. Not that he's keeping count. I think it's 11 days. Anyways, the only lighting that I have here is my beautiful Christmas tree that's going on. And my parakeet is in the background. But other than that, my husband took my children with him for a Christmas practice, I think is what he said. So anyways, I wanted to do this video to y'all, for y'all, that way, just to, my videos, my videos are my healing journey. And it's so funny because every story that I talk about, it just brings so much healing to me. It speaks to me, and I can read it and then read again and then read again. And then when I get on video, I can have read it or I read it with y'all, and it just speaks to me all over again. And I get this new insight, this fresh insight of the story. And I know that it's Father just giving me the words to say, and maybe somebody needed to hear that specific word, or that give a better understanding. The one thing that I always ask the Father is, I want to know your nature. I want to know who you are, because that's my solid ground right there. To know who you are, I can stand on that. Whatever I face it with that certainty. And who my Father is he's a Father who's full of love for me and for you. But like I said in my other videos, he doesn't look at us by number. When I say he loves me, and he knows me personally, and he knows every hair on my head. And believe me, I have a lot of hair. I'm Hispanic. So he knows every little detail about me, even in the inside of me. But at the same time, he's seen you. Whoever is watching this video, he's seen you. He's not only seen your face, your eyes, your nose, and your hands, your body language. He's seen the inside of you. So when I'm talking about these stories, I pray that they would minister to your heart, because he's speaking straight at you. I pray that it would penetrate your heart, like the Father speaking straight to you, because when I'm reading these, I picture the Father speaking to me. And these videos are so raw. In other words, they're not prepared. I don't have like books that are in front of me. I have my Bible, and I have a picture of some words that I took, and I just kind of want to read it. But other than that, I have nothing prepared, because I want it to flow. And I'm not the best person to use eloquent words. I don't have a degree. I don't have years of ministry. I don't have a year of ministry. I'm just a homemaker, a mom who loves her 2 children, a wife who does her best to be a good wife. That's it. There is nothing that qualifies me to preach his word. Nothing. But I love how the Father, he's not looking for any of that. He's not looking for a degree. He's not looking for a person who has it all together. Her behavior is like superb. He's not looking for someone who can say the right things at the right time. He can use anybody. And like I said in my other video, he doesn't need me. He doesn't need me to teach or anything like that. to preach his word or anything like that. But it's like he loves to partner with me, and he flows through me. And even if it's just one person that hears this and is ministered to, that one person meant everything to him. That one person turned on and tapped into my video and saw it and felt the love of the Father for her or him. That person mattered. So I don't know who I speak to. I don't know what audience I speak to, but I do know this. I do know that Father calls the unqualified. Father loves to partner with you. And he is so crazy about you. And I pray that this story that I'm about to talk about would minister to you. So if you allow me, I would like to talk about something that is dear to me again. Like I said, these videos it's my healing journey. So yeah, let's get started with this, right? I made some notes because usually when I'm going through something, that's where my message comes from. So I'm going through something, it's not prepared. It's not like, okay, today I'm going to talk about, such and such. It's like when I'm going through something, that's when all of my words just start flowing. Like I can really express it at that time. So I started writing some things, and the first sentence that I wrote, it was in regards to John chapter 9. And I think if you've been following me on my videos and been hearing my videos, you know that I love the book of John because it's all about the man who boasted about the Father's love for him. And so anyways, that's the story that we're going to talk about today, is John chapter 9. And I put here, what do you do when you know you can't change? And I know this is such a deep subject. This is something so not talked about, I think. Me personally, I think is not talked about enough. But just from my own life, I have found myself asking, what do you do when you know you can't change? And I'm probably going to tear up, I'm just going to tear up in most of my videos. I usually do, but like I said, these videos are so precious to me. You have a problem, and I'm just kind of reading this from what I wrote at that time that I was feeling this. You have a problem. The people that you're either hurting or the consequences of what you do, but still you can't change. You try your hardest to try to change the one thing that needs to die in you, but you find yourself in a place of letting go of trying. Then hope and love enters the scene, and he sees you. When no one sees you or cares to even try to help, he zones in on you. Being misunderstood, possibly taken advantage of because you didn't know better. But then love sees you and stops and notices you are in need of him. And these words came straight from my heart because there is something that I'm going through and that I cannot change. I cannot change. And no matter how many times I've done these things of the good, the Christian things to do, like, speak scripture over yourself or declare this so many times, and I've done it all. But yet I find myself in the same predicament of, I can't change that about myself. I can't change it. And no matter how much I try, I always fail. So I asked my husband a very important question. And I said very simply, what do you do when you can't change? And it took him a little while. But he said, you just stop trying. And I know that's easier said than done. And what does that even look like, right? What does that even look like? Well, today I want to talk to you about this story in John chapter 9. And because it's about a man who was born blind. A man who, he couldn't change his circumstances. He was born this way. It wasn't his fault. He was a beggar, begging for money. And he couldn't change that. So, it starts in chapter 9, but in chapter 8, they had brought the adulterous woman to Jesus. And that's going on in the scenario. And the Pharisees are, they're trying to catch him, do something, to accuse him and stuff like that. And Jesus says some couple of things, and they really get mad. I'm just kind of paraphrasing, you can read it, but they get really mad and they end up throwing him, about to stone him because of what he said. And he said a very powerful statement, but I don't want to talk about that. Just kind of want to give you the background of it. But they end up not liking what he's about to say or what he said to them. And they pick up some stones and they're about to stone him. And Jesus, the amazing, amazing Son of God, Son of Man that he is, it says that he went, like he hid himself. There was tons of people. Everywhere Jesus went, there was tons of people around. Everybody wanted to be around him and stuff like that. And so anyhow, it says that he hid himself from them. It's like he goes in stealth mode, right? Which is awesome. But it wasn't his time to die. It wasn't his time to die. And that's a whole different subject that I would like to bring to y'all. But not right now. So anyways, so he was rejected by his own people, his own brothers. They were Jews. And they were about to pick up some stones because they misunderstood him. Okay, so that's what's going on. And then in chapter 9, this is where I pick up. It says, as he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. Okay. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, the man or his parents, that he would be born blind? Now I want you to picture the scene, because as I'm reading this and I'm trying to think of, like, okay, you have a man that's just sitting there and there's no dignity in him. He already knows he's blind. He knows he has nothing to offer anybody. He lives on the sympathy of others. And he's just sitting there, And I just picture Jesus coming into the scene, and he sees him. And most people would pass him by, or give money to him. But other than that, there would be no talking or anything like that, having a conversation with him and helping him. Sometimes it's the last thing people wouldn't even think about it. I mean, this is a man who is whose life is in other people's generosity. And I don't know about you or where you live, but in my town, when you go to a certain location, there are people there, asking for money, and they are, I see people, I've even done it myself, I'll pass them by. Sometimes I won't even look eye to eye with them, and I just go into the department store or whatever, and then I come out, and they're picking up money for whatever they represent. And you're on a mission, right? You're going to get something, and then you come out and you don't even think, hey, they're asking for money. I've done it numerous of times. There's times that I do stop, but we don't actually hold a conversation. I don't actually know that person. I just drop the money and then I go, So I just picture this man. He's a beggar, and he hears people coming in and out, different conversations. But then you have Jesus, and he enters the scene, and I call it like love enters the scene. And like I said, in verse 2 it says, and his disciples, the disciples were with Jesus, of course, at that time, and he asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, the man or his parents, that he would be born blind? So they want to know, like, okay, here's since you're stopping Jesus, why is this man blind? Like, who sinned? Like, they were very curious, and it's crazy because when we find people like that, we automatically think, okay, that person must have did something wrong, if they're crippled or if they did this, or we want to know why sometimes. But what I love about Jesus is that he didn't care if he did it to himself or he didn't do it to himself, or he didn't care. He just saw a person and an opportunity to show love to that person, show compassion to that person, and to be the answer to that person. There was a problem, and he was the answer. And that's what I love about the Father. I love that Jesus was like that. And Jesus answered, it was neither that this man sinned nor his parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him. So he automatically shut that down with his disciples. I just see him gently correcting that in them and saying, it's like, don't even think about that. This is a man who has a problem, and I am the answer for him. A man who cannot change his circumstances, and I am the answer for him. Verse 4, we must work the works of him who sent me as long as it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in this world, I am the light of the world. Now picture it, this man was blind. That means that all he saw was darkness. He couldn't see color. He couldn't see the texture of something. He was born blind. That means that he couldn't even see his parents. We all look forward to when our child opens their eyes and they see the ones that they love, the ones that love them. What a glorious picture of that, to see color. It's not black and white. We see reds, we see blacks, we see green, depending on the kind of Christmas tree that you have. Mine is red and gold and white and green and just beautiful colors. This man couldn't do so. He couldn't experience any of that. Couldn't experience any of that. And Jesus was saying, I am that light that he needs. And this has a spiritual meaning, of course, as well. There's a lot of meanings here. But the fact is that this man could not see anything. He was already in darkness. And then all he could hear was that this man's name was Jesus, and that he stopped, and that he cared for him to do something about his real problem. You see, the begging for money was a byproduct of what was truly the problem. You see, if he could see, then he could work. And if he could work, he would have the money. But the real problem, it wasn't the fact that he was poor. The real problem was that he couldn't see. And that what I love about the Father is that he doesn't go after what's coming out, the behavior of a person. He goes after the root. You see, it's I know I'm going off subject a little bit, but just bear with me. Everyone knows that in order to get rid of stickers, you just don't pull them out each one. You actually have to get to the root of where it started and pull it up. And that's how Jesus was. He went for the root of the problem. And he didn't care how it got there. He just wanted to get rid of it, because he knew afterwards would be such a great blessing for this person, and what it would do to this person. And we're going to find out later in the story what it did to him. But like I said, a man who knew nothing of light, just darkness. Verse 5, while I am in this world, I am the light of the world. Verse 6, when he had said this, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle and applied the clay to his eyes. Now this is there's so many different, how can I put it? I've heard so many different stories of why would he spit on the ground, put this clay on his eyes. And I'm not going to go on of what I believe why he did that, because I don't think that's important right now. I really want to get to the main subject of how it turned out, I guess, because that's what really ministered to me whenever I was hearing it. So he just put this clay on his eyes, and obviously we know that if you put clay on a blind man's eyes, you just made him even worse, right? Well, that's what he did, okay? For whatever reason, he did that. He put clay on his eyes, okay? Verse 7, and he said to him, go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which is translated sent. So he went away and washed and came back seeing. Now, can you picture the scene? He has clay on his eyes, and he goes to this pool, and he goes off of one word. Goes off of a word from somebody he doesn't even know. But mind you, he's at the last. He has nothing left. He can't say, no, I'm not going to do that because, I've tried that and it doesn't work. I've done this and no, maybe I should just stay here. No, he came to the end of himself. He went off of a complete stranger's voice. He trusted in that. And he went to this pool and he put water on his eyes and he was healed and he could see. We get so far when we come to the end of ourselves. We actually start winning when we come to the end of ourselves. And we actually start losing when we have the strength inside of us that says, I can do it. I can do it. I can stop being angry. I can stop feeling jealous. I can stop, watching those things. I can stop. I'm just naming, just a couple of things off the top of my head. I can stop it. If I do this, I can stop it. And sometimes, all the time, if you're honest with yourself, you can't do it through you. And this man could not make himself see. He could not make himself see. He was not strong in himself. He had no dignity. Have you ever walked by a person begging for money? I always look at their eyes when I speak to them because I want them to see that I think they're important. I don't want to just hand them the money. I want to look in their eyes and I want them to see you're important. I don't know how you got here. I don't know what you did, but it doesn't matter. You're a person and you're loved and you're important. You're not a number. You're important to the Father. He thinks you're amazing. He thinks you're the apple of his eye and you're worth his time. So this man had nothing left inside of him. And he takes this man at his word and he goes and he washes and he gets his eyes. He can see color. He can see people. Can you imagine the excitement? Years and years pass, years and decades pass, and he can see. All because one man decided to stop from his journey and care enough to touch him. Not only touches his eyes, touch the root of something, but he touched his heart at the same time. Verse 8, therefore the neighbors and those who previously saw him as a beggar were saying, is not this the one who used to sit and beg? They were so astonished, like, wow, this guy is this the guy that was begging money like just about 2 minutes ago? He was just asking me for money and now he can see? Like, the questions that were growing in the people's minds. What happens to you and to people around you when Father gets a hold of you because he loves you? How transformed can you be when he gets a hold of you? Now I want you to think about something here. Jesus, not once did he ever say, when you do see, go tell people. Go spread the news. Or come and follow me. Or believe in me. He never told him that. He never told him that. And I think, to be honest with you, I really truly believe that the Father knows what happens when our lives are impacted by him. When our lives are so touched by his love. What will we do? The desire comes from within and we just tell people. We talk to a camera. We talk to a camera that you don't know who's going to see this. And you really don't care if it's one person. Father's love is so powerful that when it touches your life, you will do so much more from that overflow in you. And this man, what he does, it's incredible. So let's continue. Verse 10. So they were saying to him, how then were your eyes opened? And he answered, the man who was called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and said to me, go to Siloam and wash. So I went away and washed, and I received sight. It was like so simple to him. Like, let's not get this so complicated. Let me not do this big rehearsal of words. It's just, he told me to go to the pool. I put I put some water in my eyes and now I can see. Like, it's that simple, And I love that. It's the simple good news, the simple gospel, right? Verse 12, they said to him, where is he? He said, I don't know. Verse 13, they brought to the Pharisees the man who was formerly blind. Now we're talking about the guys that were going to stone Jesus. They brought this man to the Pharisees, okay? Now, verse 14, now it was the Sabbath on the day when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Now, healing on the Sabbath day, doing any kind of work was against the law. It was against the traditions. You could not work on the Sabbath. That's actually one of the 10 commandments. You shall honor the Sabbath day. Okay, so Jesus, mind you, Jesus who wrote the law, right here, he's breaking their law. Isn't that, and then that's a whole different story, but just to get your wheels turning, right? Okay, this is how important he sees healing you. I love that. Anyways, okay, verse 15. Then the Pharisees who were asking him again how he received his sight, and he said to them, he applied clay to my eyes and I washed and I see. Like, it's becoming clearer and clearer. Like, you've already heard me tell you this. Verse 16, therefore some of the Pharisees were saying, this man is not from God because he does not keep the Sabbath. But others were saying, how can a man who was a sinner perform such signs? And there was a division among them. So they said to the blind man again, what do you say about him, since he opened your eyes? And he said, he's a prophet. The Jews then did not believe it of him, that he had been blind and had received sight, until they called the parents of the very one who had received a sight, and questioned them, saying, is this your son, who you say was born blind? Then how does he now see? His parents answered them and said, we know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But how he now sees, we do not know. Or who opened his eyes, we do not know. Ask him, he's of age. He will speak for himself. Okay, the guy just told him how it happened, and they're still not believing. It's still not making sense to them because they really didn't want to see it. They really didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear the truth, or they didn't want to hear the simplicity of what just happened. And I think I'm on verse 22. His parents said to this because they were afraid of the Jews. For the Jews had already agreed, and if anybody confessed him to be Christ, he was to be put out of the synagogue. For this reason, his parents said, he is of age, ask him. So they were afraid themselves. So a second time they called the man who had been blind, and said to him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner." And he then answered, Whether he's a sinner, I do not know. But one thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see." So they said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" Dude, he just told you. Right? Well, okay, and then he answered them, "I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? You do not want to become his disciples too, do you?" Now that's when it really started to get like their anger started to boil up on them, because he was like, "Hey, are you trying to be his disciple as well? Are you trying to be a follower of his?" And they reviled him and said, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he is from." The man answered and said to them, now this was so good. I was like, oh my God, like I could, like when I was reading this, I was like, oh, that's something that I would say. He says, "Well, here's the amazing thing, that you do not know where he is from, and yet he opened my eyes." I love the fact that the man was born blind, exposed to the world, and in lack of money, and didn't, I imagine him not having the right to speak or the worthiness to speak because he was the one who was begging for money. But then when his eyes are opened, he becomes bold to tell the Pharisees a bold statement like that. Like it gives me so much hope that when your eyes are open to something, this boldness comes from within, and you now have the ability to speak. I marvel at that, because he says, "Well, here's an amazing thing, that you do not know where he is from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not hear sinners." Look how the comment that's coming out of his mouth. We know. He's like, I know this one thing. God does not hear sinners. But if anyone is God-fearing and does his will, he hears them. So he's saying if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. Okay? Since the beginning of time, it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered him, "You were born entirely in sins, and are you teaching us?" So they put him out. They got mad because he was telling them the truth, and they put him out. The guy just saw a human being for the first time. And man, did he just get a taste of them as well. They put him out. But I love this. This is the best part. Okay, one of the best parts of the story, because it just touched me. In verse 35, after they put him out, it says, Jesus heard that they had put him out, and finding him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" And I want to stop there and just kind of, just talk about this for a little bit. In chapter 8, Jesus tells them the truth. He tells them what they need to hear, and they pick up some stones to throw at him. But because it wasn't his time to die yet, he goes into like stealth mode, and They can't even find him. They also rejected him, his own brothers. But then you have somebody he touched with his eyes. He touched his eyes. The guys telling the same guys that Jesus that Jesus was with, and they put him out as well. And Jesus, he comes and he finds him. He heard, I love that. He heard that they put him out. I love that because Jesus could relate to this guy because they had did the exact same thing to him. So he finds, he has this compassion. There's something about Jesus that he has this compassion. Now mind you, Jesus is only doing what the Father is doing. Okay? So this represents also the Father, what the Father's heart towards this man, this one man. He finds out that this man has been put away, just thrown out. He hears about it. And instead of just saying, I already gave him his miracle and then I'm going to go off my way because there's more other people. No, the very fact that they threw him out, now he's feeling a rejection inside. It's not that he was physically blind anymore. It's just that he was thrown out. And it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault that he was born that way and that now he can see. And Jesus, being so beautiful, he finds out that they did the exact same thing to him. They threw him out. And finding him, he says, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" And he answered, "Who is he, Lord, that I may believe in him?" And Jesus said to him, "You have both seen him, and he is the one who is talking with you." And he said, "Lord, I believe." And he worshiped him. The impact of the Father touching our lives does something to us. And it makes us do some crazy things sometimes, like telling somebody off the street that the Father loves them. I don't do good with people telling me to do something. When it comes down to people telling me to go and witness, I want it to come from something springing up within me, from a revelation of how loved I am. And when I'm reading these stories, I always look to see what is the Father, what does Jesus tell them when he heals them? What message is he getting to them? What does he do? What is his motive of healing a person? What is it? I can't even get the words out. What is it in for him? Like, what does he get out of it? Nothing. The pure excitement of this man that he could see now was his joy. When Father touches our lives, it's not to get anything out of us. It's just to simply see how happy we are. When I get a present, Christmas time obviously is already here, and when I give my children a present, I'm not expecting anything from them, but just to see their face light up when they get what they wanted. And I picture that as a father. When I touch you, Stacy, when I touch your heart, when I show you how much I love you, it's not to get anything in return from you. is to simply say, I love you and I want to see you happy. I want to see you whole and loved. For the rest of your life, I was thinking of you when I was on that cross. I was thinking of your health. I was thinking of your future. I was thinking of your marriage. I was thinking of your ministry. I was thinking of you. If I'd never tell him thank you, he would have still done it. This man worshiped him, not because he was told to worship him. He worshiped him because he received a touch from heaven, a touch. He was blind and now he can see. He had nothing to give. He was at the end of himself. He had nothing to give. And sometimes, actually all the time, I always tell the Father, I have nothing to give you. I don't say the right things or do the right things all the time. How can I ask you of this? But the thing is that he loves me so much that he wants to give it to me. He's delighted to give it to me. I put in my notes, it's not his fault that he was born blind. He was passed up, probably counted for nobody, but yet a somebody in his eyes. Day after day of knowing your condition and being helpless to see that you can't fix it. It was not something he could motivate himself to stop being blind. The fact was clear. He was a man who was born blind, and he could not help himself but be in his thoughts, just sitting there day after day, year after year. He was in his own prison, his own darkness, with no one to help. And he cannot help himself. This message is for somebody who is coming to the end of themselves. They've done all they could. They've read every self-help book. They've tried. They've served. They did everything in their power, but still they come up short. This message is for the one who can't get out. But the hope that I bring from this story is that he will find you. He sees you, and he loves you, and he's saying to you, I'm the only one who can take this from its root. I'm the only one who delights to do it for you with nothing in return. I'm the only one who knows your pain, who understands when people misunderstand you, when people reject you, when they don't know how to deal with you. I know you. And I think you are worthy of my time. I think you are worthy of my love. And if you just let go of trying, then I can do it for you. When you stop trying to take something from you and you just let go. If you fall, then you fall, but you fall into his arms, because the Bible says that the righteous falls 7 times and he gets back up. That means that you never fall out of your right standing with the Father just because you fall. If anything, fall into his arms, go right back into his love. Go back into how much he loves you, and he's not requiring anything from you. He's loving you back to health. He's loving you back to wholeness. And after that, he wants to love you even more again and again and again. It's not, I'm going to love you once and you're going to become whole, and then I'm going to tell you to go and preach to the nations. No, it's, I'm going to love you back to health. And I'm going to love you for the rest of my life. And your life. And if you want to tell somebody, then tell somebody. But tell somebody because you're so excited of what I did for you. And that's what I love about my Father, is that he's not requiring anything from me. He's healing me back from that little girl that didn't grow up with a father. Who all she wanted was to be held. All she wanted was to be told she was his princess. With nothing in return. And I just see my daddy just loving me. He's loving me back to wholeness. His love is healing me. And he meets me where I'm at. And he's telling me, just let go. Just let go of trying to please everybody. Let go of trying to explain yourself to people or defending yourself. Let me be your hero. Let me be the one who loves you back to wholeness and continues to love you, because you're worth my time. You're worth my love. So friends, this holiday is a reminder that love came down so he could show us how much the height and the width and the length and the depth of his love for you and I. And I just pray that you close your eyes and you just speak this over yourself. I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. Just because I'm his daughter. Just because I did anything right. But just because he loves me. I'm loved. Blessings to everyone who heard this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.